Let's jump right into this. So you mentioned that we're not expecting the Rampage to really come through, but at the same time, Tang, I don't know if they should let Kwang through as well. So he's one of those really strong heroes that's out right now. A lot of these teams, he's either a pick hero or he's going to be banned. What do you think?
Yeah, I think Kwang, as you mentioned, just so strong in the offlane and also in the jungle, just doesn't have any losing matchups in the offlane and is so annoying as a ganker in the jungle. So, and we also know Nyzah loves that hero. We also know Import loves both of those heroes, Rampage and Kwang. So what I'm expecting is just a Rampage ban by Indecisive, then maybe a Kwang ban by Import's backpack, and then we can sort of see already where the draft is heading, like a lot of focus on the jungle, a lot of focus maybe on the mid laner after. I think a lot of mid laners are pretty decent, so I'm expecting more the bans to head towards the jungle instead.
Absolutely. And there it is. There's the Rampage able to peel for his team and his allies. He's got the Behemoth ultimate where he's just able to get right up in your face and of course provide crowd control with his boulder. And we've seen this piloted by Nyzah as well as Import, and just that ability to just crowd control even at level 2, especially when you take that boulder toss, it just able to really create that pressure against the enemy.
Yeah, and it sets up so well for all of those ganks, right? As we see the Richter being banned. So Kwang makes it through the ban phase, so far at least. That's an avenue for a first pick. Have a few other strong picks. Usually we think of like Decker, of Bellica, those sort of heroes, but I think they've fallen off a tiny bit in this tournament.
Absolutely. And this kind of comes into question, like what sort of supports we'll also get. We know Richter can be flexed in the support side as well as in the jungle. So Richter just totally banned. Now the next question is Indecisive. Are they going to be picking up the Kwang? And is it going to be on Morose here? That's going to be, and this is what we talked about. Now it's going to be in their hands.
Yeah, the Asian man being picked up by Indecisive could go in the jungle, could go into the offlane, potentially also the supports, but I don't think that ManQ loves to play that hero. He's more like of he likes those aggressive sort of supports, like the Bellica, like the Howitzer, where he can really impact the lane as hard as he usually does. But with the Kwang being picked up, it does look like Import's backpack were more afraid of the Richter than Kwang, so maybe they have something stretched up against it.
And on the other side, we see Import's backpack locking in that Decker. Decker is one of those staple supports that we've seen time and time again. She can be played over in the mid lane as well, but very aggressive as a support, but at the same time able to create that disengage for Import's backpack. And if this is going to be in Zeyn's hands, he will be able to help at least to protect Julie and protect Wangle with Decker, and also create those initiations.
Yeah, just long range hard CC is always a good thing to have. And now that we pick the Bellica up as well, probably gonna be the mid support we're looking at right now. Mid lane for Bellica, support for Decker, and what I'm thinking is a lot of hard CC. That's gonna make life miserable for the players of Indecisive when they get locked up by a Decker stun. And then with a follow-up Seismic Assault by Bellica, there is a good chance that that's just gonna be lights out for them.
We are already looking at the combinations and the chain CCs that's coming from Import's backpack. But how will Indecisive answer? We have Kwang's Tether that can also help them catch out enemy heroes and someone who's a little bit out of place. Are they going to go for more of those tanky builds or that will sustain into the late game? But we mentioned about ManQ. He's more of an aggressive support himself, and Howitzer is still open, but at the same time he can also opt for more sustain. Maybe they'll pick a Narbash as their support. There's a lot of options. Oh, and there's the Howitzer.
Okay, so keep in mind this does not have to be support, even though
that's true.
Loves to play it, like he's been spamming it in solo queue all the time, but there's a good chance, right? So like Import's backpack needs to at least realize that Howitzer can go both rows. It would be decent in the mid lane as well. because it does outrange the Bellica. So usually the Howitzer into the Bellica is one of those matchups that you really want to play. And we know that TehAssid is very confident on that hero as well. We have gotten the Quang and the Howitzers together. So I'm kind of thinking that we have sort of a pick comp for Import's Backpack so far. But for Indecisive, also, like the Howitzer, not the most sort of team fight damage, but if he gets a pick off, like he has a lot of solo target damage, and now we see the Muriel, so the chick is up, the Howitzer is in the mid lane.
The howitzer is in the mid lane indeed. So that's going to be in TehAssid's hands against Wangle here. Definitely counters the Bellica because of that long range R2000, able to deal a lot of damage. But Bellica, if she's got to be safe here and respect the range, because we're going to be expecting that Nyzah will be continuing to gank her in the mid lane here. But on the other side, you have Import, who's also an aggressive jungler, so expect him as well. But now we see the Sevarog being picked up.
Sevarog being picked up. You just mentioned Import being an aggressive jungler. Sevarog doesn't quite fit that profile, so I'm expecting that to go into the offlane instead. But keep in mind, Nitro is playing there, so I'm not sure how much of a tank player he is either. But with that being said, 3 picks for either team, so we are heading over to the ban phase. So Rampage down, Richter down. So now we haven't really picked any ADCs yet. So if there's any standout sort of ADCs, we might expect a ban here. Otherwise, it's just going to be more bruiser bans, like there's still 2 bruisers to be had for either team if they opt to do so, like offlane or jungle. We see the Grux being taken away.
Grux, they're going to take that away from Morose's hands because we know Morose loves to play Grux and he was able to just Grux yesterday. The thing also is we know that Nitro was playing in NA rejects yesterday, and so the Sevarog is going to be in his hands. This is going to be another matchup for him against Morose, and I don't know if I guess for this time around, we're not going to be seeing the Grux in Morose's hands, so we'll have to see, is it going to be the Zarus? Sevarog, we'll have to see what he'll be able to have up his sleeve.
Yeah, we are definitely gonna have to wait and see. Now we see the Chimera being banned away. So the jungle pool for Import's Backpack shrinks a bit, but I think Import is not too worried about it. I don't think he values the Chimera too much. From what I've seen so far in scrims behind the scenes, he loves his crunch, for example, gives him so much mobility. Like he loves to visit that mid lane. That's where his tent is. That's where all his fans are waiting for him. But I think jungle is not their main target right now because no ADCs have been picked quite yet, so they're going for the Wraith for Julie.
They're definitely still keeping that jungle option open here as we have Wraith picking, we have Julie picking Wraith. So Wraith able to have that long range damage, able to be a little bit safe there behind the Decker and just hopefully not get caught out and able to juke, especially with her stealth. But on the other side, we see the Zarus.
We see the Zarus, so a big team fight ultimate with that Colosseum, together with a lot of single target damage sort of on lane. Like he's really strong in the early levels, just stacking up his passive, granting him more AD and then life regen after they fall off. All in all, also a hero that Morose just loves to play. Like he was known for a Saros OTB for a while when that hero came out. You could just see him in your solo queue games, always run that. So he is definitely confident in that. Against the Sevarog, though, I've seen conflicting sort of results. I think both teams, both sides can win. So it's definitely going to be a skill matchup to watch. But now we have Kira locked in.
We have the Kira locked in. This is going to be the ADC Cabodani on Indecisive paired with the Muriel. So with the Muriel around, she's able to have a little bit more sustain, able to have that shield, but not able to really have that long range damage versus the Wraith. So of course, we're going to have to rely on ManQ to provide that sustain, provide that heal. And like what you mentioned, here's the crunch.
Yeah, here's the crunch. I think all in all, looking at these team comps, we have a very sort of teamfight reliant sort of comp for Indecisive with the Kira ultimate together with Mural that can impact even fights that are further away, together with the Quang that we sang the praises of before. So all in all, Indecisive, a really solid comp. Imports Backpack, more of a sort of pick comp with the Wraith Rewind as well, just setting up so many good stuns for the deck. And Bellica, also a separate route into one of those stuns, can be very dangerous. So certainly gonna be interesting to watch. I personally wouldn't quite know which comp I would prefer. Do you have any ideas, Ardog?
I have no idea because both of these teams have a really good front line. Of course, Indecisive has a little bit more sustain coming from their end with the Muriel having those heals as well as the shields. But Import's Backpack, I really love the chain CC that's coming from their team. Like you mentioned, you have the Subjugate from the Sevrog and then the Crunch. Import just able to really land that uppercut and land that CC along with the Decker stun ball and then the rewind with the Wraith. And if they're able to land that back to back to back, they're able to really take down anybody.
Yeah, certainly. I think with that being said, I think it's a good time to just not look at the screen anymore and maybe just jump right into the game. I know all of us have been waiting to see Indecisive face off against Import's Backpack. Import's Backpack on the blue side against Indecisive on that orange side.
And of course, we actually have Nyzah here, who's going to be the offlaner for Import's Backpack. Look at them fly off there as they this game is starting. Typically in this early game, you see a little bit of these teams kind of push up just a little bit, just trying to get some vision out, or just warding their buffs, trying to protect themselves from the invade.
Yeah, we see a clear sort of vision line, especially for Import's Backpack. They don't want any funny business happening, so they're going to respect the invade, but are going to stand at a distance where they can see sort of a cheeky ward being placed by Indecisive. You mentioned it before, we have Nos instead of Nitro on that off lane. We did a bit of trolling in the draft, calling it Nitro, but Nos on that Sevrog, definitely his best hero. We've seen him play it a lot, but it's going to be a tall order fighting against Morose in that offlane.
Absolutely. And we talked also about how it can go either way with this matchup. Azarus, especially with his Colosseum, able to really lock down on enemy heroes and his target from far away, allowing his team to really lock in and secure those kills. But at the same time, Sevrog, if this game goes into the late game, he's able to really grow those shoulder pads and become a raid boss in the end, depending on how he's going to be building and of course, and how he's able to rotate to these team fights.
Yeah, 80, 120, and 160 are the sort of thresholds for his shoulder pads. So usually as an offlaner, you really want to make sure that you last hits those minions with your Siphon. But enough being said about that lane. It's probably not going to be the highest sort of kill lane, but as I say, this Morose goes in. Nos taking a bad trade, missing the subjugate is going to put him down to a 3rd HP, and that's going to make his lane miserable now against the Saris that has HP advantage. It's just going to force him under tower, but we're heading over to mid lane instead. We have Wangle on that Bellica against TehAssid on that Howitzer. Certainly a match, a sort of lane to watch as well.
It definitely is. And Bellica, we saw Wangle taking a lot of damage from those R2000 pokes from Howitzer there. But Howitzer and TehAssid, he's got to be careful because he is really pushed up. Yes, he's got the knockback that can safely help him bump his enemies back, or even bump himself back. But at the same time, you thinking about cooldowns, that's a really long cooldown, especially in the early game. So with that out, that opens or gives the opportunity for Import to gank his lane.
Yeah, it does. But at the moment, it's Nyzah looking for something. But with the mine being dodged away from Wangle, there's no play to be had right there. Just a bit of time invested for Nyzah. But yeah, generally speaking, if you play against Import's mid laner, you don't play a 1v1, you play a 2 versus 1. And I think Import has shown it time over time again that he really loves that mid lane and really loves to gank it, especially now that he plays that crunch that does have a lot of clear, and having a lot of clear in jungle just allows you to gank so much more.
Especially you're able to gain that CS lead against that Kwang. We saw Nyzah also hovering in the mid lane. Both of these junglers just really clearing out the vision, clearing out the wards, making sure these mid laners are not doing much. But here's a gank.
Here's a gank, Nos going low, blink, followed by Morose is gonna secure first kill with Nyzah being the assistant right there. First blood over to the side of Indecisive, Morose luring them into a false sense of security by backing off instead of trading aggressively into the Sevarog is gonna give them first blood.
We talked about how the Sevarog probably wouldn't, this lane in the offlane probably wouldn't be a high kill lane, but that first blood going the side of Indecisive right there, that just allowed them to secure that kill onto Nas. But now we have Import just showing himself over here in the duo lane, and they're able to try and secure this gold buff.
There wasn't really an angle to gank there, so instead he's just gonna help his dual lane out get that gold buff for themselves. It's a small win in the pockets for Import's backpack, but if you compare it to the kill being had on the other side of the map, it's only a sort of consolation prize. But now we are heading towards the 5 minutes mark. We are starting to get level 6 on the mid laners. There's still level 5 yet, but we see both rivers spawning up again with Wangle starting off with the Azure core with sort of the rod. TehAssid dropping down is gonna not get the river. Import is there to hover, but in the end it's just Wangle losing a few minions on the tower, gets the river buff though in return. So we see a bit of a trade in the offlane. I think Nos is not gonna have a good time against that Morose heading over into the mid game. Morose just waiting for his level 6. No blink up on Nos. It's always a target to fight.
There's a lot of things happening here. This is the chase as they go for that level 6, but now Juli is in trouble as we have Nyzah here ganking this duo lane. But of course, as a Wraith, you have a little bit of safety because you have that long range poke, so able to deal that damage. And at the same time, you can kind of disappear for a little bit with that stealth and go invisible. So no blinks to be used up quite yet, except there on the offlane.
Yeah, mid lane, Howitzer is gonna get blinked on by Crunch, is gonna have to disengage, but with a level 6 being ticked over, he is not on the threat of dying. So in the end, it's gonna be him escaping. Import tried his best to get a kill. They used this blink as well. Bellica also blinked forward, so no blink on that Bellica usually means that mid laner is very, very in danger of dying.
And of course, against the Howitzer has that make it rain that can allow him to disengage, and at the same time also have that knockback that we just saw Assad use to help him get away from those skirmishes or from those team fights. And now we've got our eyes on this offlaner, Morose, who's reached that level 6 before Nyzah in the vicinity making a gank.
Yeah, no level 6 yet for Nos. Hard to get away from the Morose that is just going to use his Colosseum because he has no more mana left. And it's going to be Nyzah locking him up for Morose to collect 2 kills on the terrace.
He has to respect that even though Morose didn't have that much mana there, but he had just enough for that Colosseum. And this is what we talked about with that Colosseum ultimate by Zarus, able to just really lock down on their opponents. And that's how they're able to get those leads. Unfortunately, as we see here, Import just really hovering over onto the duo side, not quite having the engage that they want because there's so much vision that's over there. You have so many wards, but we have a blink that's coming out from ManQ.
Yeah, Import really wanted to prove you wrong right there. At least forces out the blink. Now we see him just resetting, not having the best sort of results with his ganks quite yet, the crunch, but he's not level 6 yet, right? So usually when you have the crunch, as I see him tick over to level 6 now, but like with the recrunch, he has a lot more mobility on the hero. And what does Import do? Like, he goes straight towards the mid lane again. TehAssid might be the target, has good wards though. Like, he knows something is up, and he is gonna go forward though. Wangle is looking. No blinks on either one of Import and Wangle, but TehAssid goes a bit aggressive. Is gonna trade into Wangle, has the ultimate up to escape though, and with no blinks and Nyzah covering, that gank just didn't work out at all.
That's a beautiful play coming from TehAssid right there. You saw that he was hugging the left side, which is where his jungler is at. And at the same time, you've got that ledge that allows you to kind of, I guess, disengage or I guess avoid the uppercut. But here's Import yet again.
Here's Import, locks him up under turret. He still does not have his blink up. Nos has the same blink timer as him, and Morose has to run away. ManQ uses the ultimates to turn the fight against Nos. Nos is going super low, is gonna drop. Morose just got his blink back up, is gonna blink away at the very first second where it was available. Nos did the same, but TehAssid trades into Wangle, gets the kill with Nyzah helping out.
That is a 1-to-1 right there in the mid lane. What a play from ManQ. But here is the rewind coming from Cabodani, or Julie, excuse me, and Cabodani having to burn his blink because the Muriel left him alone. We saw that ManQ was able to use that reversal of fortune and reverse the tides there in the off lane. But Morose is becoming scary, Tang. He's 2-0 right now. He's secured his first item. He's got the Mutilator, and of course we're going to expect a lot more aggression as he starts to snowball as a hero.
Morose definitely a big problem. We also know just from watching him, he was on that Indecisive roster that did win the last Fangbooth, remember that? And what he likes to do is use his leads to get those early objectives for his team. As I'm saying this though, we see Impulse Backpack head over to that Fangtooth, are gonna start it up with the Crunch inherent healing on the passive. That's gonna be just no problem for them to take at all, and that's gonna be the first Fangtooth being traded for Import's Backpack. Mini Prime on the other side of the map hasn't been started yet, but there's a bit of a member build-up on that side of the map. How is it also looking? But with Nos respecting the weak side, he is not going to get caught.
He is definitely trying to not get caught, but you might be wrong here, as we have Nyzah yet again making the rotation, and there is the colossal blow along with the damage coming from Nyzah, and that's the Spear of the Near to finish him off.
Yeah, and that's gonna be $5 on PayPal for me for caster cursing Nos right there. Just played well until I said he played Burl, and then he just tried to get one more CS, and it's just gonna spell his doom. He knew he was weak set right there. He knew that Crunch was playing on the other side of the map, and with that kill, it's just Import taking. It's Indecisive taking that mini prime. It's probably gonna go on Morose, that has just been winning that lane in isolation, and also with Nyzah helping him, of course. But now he's gonna be so much scarier with the mini prime, and while Import taking the red buff for himself.
And Import as well. He's got that mini prime, and we saw that he now has his crest. Definitely going to opt for that Icecorn talents, of course, kind of slow his enemies and speed himself up. And this is what we're expecting from him, as he has that early lead. We are 11 minutes into the game. We have both junglers making themselves known over on the off lane, but that leaves the duo lane a little bit open. So it can go either way so far with this duo, especially if ManQ makes that rotation and leaves his carry alone. That kind of opens up the opportunity for Julie and Zeyn to take down Cabo.
Yeah, and a very uncharacteristically killless duo lane, especially for Cabodani. Usually you expect him to get a few carries, maybe die a few times as well, but this game, it didn't really look that way. Meanwhile, offlane as well, it's at Morose getting engaged on by Nos and Import. Is gonna get the stun from the Crunch. Import is still gonna chase. No mana on Morose, no blink up either. Nos is trading into him aggressively as well. Mini Prime on that hero is gonna use the ultimate in order to secure the kill for Import. That's gonna be a really good kill, denying that Mini Prime play as well.
And taking that bounty away as well. So Import, beautiful rotation there. Morose just a little bit too pushed up. Yes, he has the advantage. Yes, he has the lead, and he wants to snowball as a player, but he didn't have enough mana to really deal that damage, and not to mention he didn't have his blink up as well. But now we have Nyzah in the vicinity. They're looking to make a play.
But it's so frustrating to look at this. Kira and Muriel, both of them no hard CC on the lane, obviously, right? So the Quang can't really do anything. Now Zeyn, though, looking for it, uses the stun already aggressively. Now Nyzah walks around, but it's just so far away that he cannot catch effectively. But I'm just saying something, because Juli is getting caught. That's gonna be the blink down from the Wraith. Quite a lot of resources though. Import behind the enemy lines is gonna go for the Howitzer that got the kill on Wraith. Now he's in a bad spot though. Is gonna get hit. Quang in the middle of everything. Import has to run away. Zeyn low HP, but is gonna end up having to blink away. But 4 members still there on the duo side. And when I said all the action is on the offlane, we see a giant play on the duo lane.
We definitely do. And we saw how Howitzer made that rotation. And unfortunately, we have a little bit of a technical issue here as Wangle appears, then disappears, and then appears yet again and dies to TehAssid there. A little bit of a rewind action here. We see Wangle making that rotation.
Yeah, Wangle, just I don't know what he wanted to do, but that was certainly not the play. Almost got TehAssid though, but in the end, it's him falling. It's also Import having to run away, and the entire blue side is just for the taking of Indecisive. They also got so much, so many kills on that side of the map. And meanwhile, Morose on the other side of the map is completely bing-chilling. Like, he is so strong against the Sevrog at this stage of the game. Nos did finish the Fire Blossom, but against the Mutilator from Morose, it's just really hard for him to trade into him, just half HP after contesting a single wave. So in the end, it's Indecisive just coming ahead out of those fights so far.
14 minutes in, we are 2-6, 6 kills on the side of Indecisive. Looking at the CS lead, there's certainly a healthy CS lead, especially from Morose here, 130 versus 80 on Nas. We mentioned leads, and this guy has it. He's building into that tainted item, which is going to be helpful for him, that anti-heal against this Sevrog who wants to heal and use his get those stacks in and get those heals as he scales into this late game. But Morose, we'll have to see how he's able to make those impacts everywhere into the middle to late game as we reach that stage of the game.
Yeah, but I think before we get ahead of ourselves, we look at the Fangbooth. Now we see trading in the dual lane is going to be good poke onto Zeyn, but also on Cabodani. Fangbooth has spawned now. So we see 5 members of Indecisive grouping up around it. We have Sevrog still split pushing on that off lane. Doesn't really look like there is any chance to contest this. We see Crunch going back to his jungle. We see Sevrog trying to take that tier 1 tower. So it's going to be 1-for-1 in Fangbooth.
1-for-1 indeed. We saw that Morose just now made that rotation all the way over onto that Fangtooth to really secure that second Fangtooth of the match. Meanwhile, over on the right-hand side, Sevrog in the offlane just really trying to get his farm up, really try and get this tier 1 tower of Morose's, but it's just not quite enough. As we see Morose closing in, he's just forced to back off.
He is forced to back off, but we see Cabodani and ManQ also trading aggressively on the other side of the map as there's a gank on the mid lane. Now 3 members right there. TehAssid manages to use the Make It Rain to almost escape. Is gonna be 1 HP. He's gonna use his mind to an incredible extent. Nyzah now into 3 people. He's gonna use everything, but they have the Muriel. Muriel is gonna use the ultimate. Import really low. It's gonna get downed by Nyzah with a good R2000 rocket by TehAssid as well. But Nyzah once more is gonna miss the Q and ends up running away. But Nos in the backline gets TehAssid. Now ManQ is the target. Nos in a bad spot though. Morose is right here. He's gonna use the ultimate, the Colosseum, to secure the stack, and the 4-and-1 Morose is cleaning up.
He definitely cleaned up right there. ManQ, he was trying to, he had that reversal of fortune. They can't forget about the Muriel, but Juli, he just separated from her support there, taken down by Cabodani. We talked about how Cabodani was able to, it's very rare for him to not have a lot of kills, but put him on the board. He's 1-0-1 now, picking up that tainted rounds, that lightning hawk, and of course the witch stalker to help him cleanse off that chain CC that we're expecting from Import's backpack right there.
Yeah, and I'm gonna impart a bit of game knowledge to all of you, okay? So if your support leaves, okay, and you are alone on the dual lane, don't fight 1 versus 2 unless you're Cabodani. Then you are just gonna kill the ADC in the 1 versus 2 and secure a kill for yourself. But with that kill and also like with just overall tempo on the map, Indecisive just goes onto the mini prime. It's gonna go onto not Morose this time. I didn't quite catch who got it. Probably on Nyzah, not on Nyzah either. So maybe it was Wangle, but we see an invade onto the jungle. Nos getting stunned up, and he is gonna dash away. Should still have the ultimate up. No, he doesn't. It's gonna be a chase by Morose. Nyzah diving under tower, and the demon has been vanquished.
He does not care. He's going to be all up in your face, but Cabodani, he's by himself in the mid lane, also going to be taken down by Wangle right here. Just making that rotation, we see Zeyn as well as the jungler onto the mid lane, as we see that there was that pressure over on the off lane side. But Morose, he's looking at that tier 2 tower. They have to have an answer for this guy who's becoming a raid boss as we enter this late game.
Yeah, he definitely is a big problem right now, but the one good thing for Import's backpack is that if I sing Cabodani's praises, he's gonna disappoint me straight afterwards. He did get the mini prime and instantly died with it. Couldn't really 1 versus 4 right there, so that's the mini prime gone from the side of Indecisive. But still, a lot of kills over to them. We also see sort of a CS lead emerging. You talked about it before, 65 CS up at the moment. Yeah, and counting. We see items being completed, 2 items on most heroes. We see Wangle also looking pretty scary in the mid lane, but TehAssid, to be honest, on that howitzer has been doing so much work this game.
He definitely is, and we saw that he's able to really be evasive and use his knockback to disengage. But here's Nyzah with the rotation.
Nyzah with the rotation, ult comes in by ManQ. Is gonna force out the blink though, and now Nyzah in a bad spot. 4 versus 3. Import just dashing over though, is gonna be onto the Quang, and that gets deleted. Zeyn going really low, is gonna drop to the howitzer, but he has no resources left and is gonna end up falling. Now Morose makes the rotation from the offlane, but health bus so healthy that there is no kill to be had right there. Meanwhile, Cabodani is still on that offlane. They didn't have enough men to actually fight this.
And Julie right here put her on the board. She has that first kill there in the mid lane just versus Cabodani. She's opting for the Ortis, that physical power and stack with every takedown versus Cabodani, which is a little bit different because Cabo is going to be playing a little bit safe. Meanwhile, Julie's going to have to rely on her allies to help keep her alive.
She definitely does. She does have the invis to at least do something. ManQ going low in the mid lane though. Wangle is going to look for an execute, but doesn't have the neural disruptor up. But that's a lot of poke onto Monkey as the Fangtooth is about to spawn. 20 minutes in the game as well. With a big Orb Prime spawn. But I think both teams want to contest that 3rd Fangtooth of the game.
That 3rd Fangtooth is up. They're playing for that vision right there, looking for somebody who's at the wrong place at the wrong time. But Zeyn, you're by yourself here.
Nyzah is going into Zeyn. Import's going onto the mid lane instead. Zeyn is getting lower and lower. Import, though, on the other side of the fight, is gonna play the front line and just delete the howitzer that was a bit out of position. Now, 4 versus 4. Import has a good flanking position in the red side jungle. See the poke coming out. Wangle missing the stun, though. That's gonna be a lot of members on top of him. Import, though, on the other side of the map is gonna 1v1. Monkey has to run away. Is gonna fall in the end. Morose still there. The hard carry of their team. 3 members still up, but it's the 3 sort of carry players. So a lot of power still on the side of Indecisive. Import has to run away. 3 versus 3. Sevrok showing on the lane right now, but is low HP. Morose starts up that Fangtooth. Import is aware, and we know Import loves to steal those objectives. He is gonna look for something. Nos is there. Julie is so as well. Blinks in, is gonna go for the disrupt, is gonna miss the smite though, and that's gonna be Nyzah securing it. Now Nos has to run away. A lot of members in the pit. Decker also coming back from the respawn. Julie is gonna get low, but a good ultimate by Cabodani is gonna seal her fate. Now Zeyn tries to escape, but is trapped in the pit.
So we saw there Morose was able to rotate into that team fight. Nas not really able to help protect and peel for his squishy allies, especially Julie, especially Wangle, who was just caught out by himself. The team looked like they were just separated coming from Import's backpack, not quite playing as a unit right there. And unfortunately, that was their downfall as they lost their 3rd Fangtooth. We talked about how Import has been known for those steals, but unfortunately the CC coming from the tether from Nyzah was able to help Nyzah secure that. And now we're looking at into the mid to late game. There's a very healthy lead right now in CS, 100 up on the side of Indecisive. They want to close in on this orb prime now, because that's the next objective on the map. So we'll have to see who's going to get the pick first. They have to be careful.
What I really want to mention there as well, you were talking about the orb prime sort of trio, but we see a lot of wards for both teams, so it's very dangerous to sort of start it up quite yet. So you need to go in there and de-ward it, group up, link up with your jungler as the support, and try to get those wards in deep. We see a good ward by Indecisive into the red side stairs. That might be de-warded soon, but we can see both teams knowing what the win con is. They see the Saffrock on the other side of the map. They're looking maybe for Zeyn right there. Nyzah catches him with the tether. It's going to get a lot of poke on him, but with Dekka's innate survivability, there's no play to be had, but all members still around the door prime.
They definitely are. We see so many wards in that vicinity. One wrong move, who's out of position. We saw that Zeyn might have been caught out there, but he's got to be careful. He took some damage coming from that Kwang, but Indecisive team is just all up in Import's backpack jungle here.
Yeah, but Savrog is still split pushing. He's not buying their bluffs because they have wards everywhere. Like, they don't need to face check this at all because they know they haven't started it. With good warding, that's what you can do. And Nos is just allowed to free farm on that other side of the map. So we see like sort of a dance emerging. Neither team really wants to be the ones getting caught. Everyone playing pretty safe. TehAssid, though, is getting looked at by Import, the bane of all mid laners. And the bubble is popped by Zeyn, but gets almost one shot in return.
Zeyn took a lot of damage there from TehAssid, and he's got to be careful because that Decker is very elusive as a hero and as a character, able to use her passive with the rocket boots and jump away, use her containment fence. But at the same time, got to be careful not to get picked off. Both teams just really being careful around here, just making sure, denying the vision from the other side, making sure the pressure is matched with the lanes.
The pressure is matched. We see Sarah's pushing it up. Now Savrok has to respond to it again, so it's a numbers advantage, but Morose getting caught in the mid lane, has to burn the blink, respect the engage, but Import is in the red side, is on a ward though again, because there's wards sort of everywhere in the jungle, but now they have all sort of despawned. Now Import does not have any wards on that prime, so they can't really be certain that it hasn't been started up yet. So Import has to face check it. It's gonna go down the stairs. A bit of a Fnatic death brush has been set up. Morose goes in. It's going to use the ultimate straight onto Wangle that has to blink away. Import, luckily enough, wasn't caught in that cage, so he managed to disengage. Now I'm looking at health bars. Nobody has been caught quite yet, but tower goes down. Tier 1 on one side of the map. Juli sitting on 2 wards right now. A fight going on. Cabodani is getting caught, is in the cage, is gonna get knocked up as well, and Wangle just absolutely destroys him. Import once more. It's gonna go forward. It's gonna land a huge knockup, but is in a bad spot in the end. Both bruisers are low HP though, and now Wangle gets caught again, does not have the blink up. Nyzah gets a good kill. Import getting trapped together with the support of Zeyn, just absolutely deleted. Nos also 1 HP.
They tried to make a play there, which I really liked from Import's backpack. They knew that there wasn't the Coliseum, and they didn't have the Reversal of Fortune as well, as Belica was able to just blink away from that. And Wangle, he didn't have his blink either. So then they actually tried to reverse what just happened. Even though they got the pick off of Cabodani right there, they just managed to take 3 members down of Import's backpack. But now Indecisive, they're looking at this primal Fangtooth right here that's able to give them that dot damage that will allow them to scale and help to take down more of their enemies, as we have Import's backpack just not able to answer at all.
They can't. Usually you want to start a prime, but they can't do it in this occasion because they are coming back from death timer. So it's just going to be the primal Fangtooth secured over to the side of Indecisive. Import wasn't there to steal it. I'm sure he would have otherwise. But now the buff up on all members of Indecisive. And what are they doing? They're heading straight to
They
the big
want
front.
to end this game. This is game one of this best of three, ladies and gentlemen. And Indecisive, they really want to get into the finals. They want to have that matchup. But Morose caught out here and actually being destroyed by Wangle Tang.
Being destroyed by Wangle. Muriel also in a bad spot now, is gonna get knocked out by Sevrog and is gonna fall in the end. Nos really low, is gonna blink away, but with the ticking of the Fangtooth is gonna fall. But all in all, 2k is over. Now, Julie goes aggressive. Nyzah is close by, is gonna maybe do something. Cabodani got hit by one of those, but barely escapes. Import going aggressive onto the howitzer, but he is too deep. That is still the Fangtooth empowering them. Now, Julie in a bad spot is gonna look to do something, but TehAssid, can he get a good mine? He doesn't hit the first one. Now with the MB, it's gonna get a lot of damage onto him, but Julie is just better. But in the end, trade 1-for-1.
Julie just walking into those mines there and unfortunately adding to the dot damage coming from the primordial Fangtooth. I respect it and I love the aggression coming from Import's backpack, but at the same time, this team still deals a lot of damage. And in the end, we lose 4 members of Import's backpack, especially how we saw Nyzah was just able to, he isn't the raid boss that we expect Sevrogs to be usually, because he was just able to be ticked down and his HP was just cut in half in just half a second.
Yeah, Nos not having the best game today, but he got a lot of pressure by Nyzah in that early game, so Morose is pretty strong. But I have to say that Import's backpack, even though they traded 4-3, all in all, it's a really good sort of play for them because they denied the prime. Also, they got 3 primal Fangtooths off the side of Indecisive that still have the temporary buff to armor and to power, but at least they don't have that big prime buff that empowers those minions. But we are right back to where we ended off because we see all members of Indecisive in the cage right now. We see Zeyn Import closing in, Import looking to see if he can steal it. Morose though is looking for a cage maybe to just make sure that Import can't get into the pit and steal it. Now we have a cinematic shot of Nos looking into a few members. TehAssid might be caught. Nos really low though, is gonna drop Wangle and gets caught, is gonna get tethered, is gonna fall. Nyzah just with the knockup from ManQ are gonna secure the kill onto Julie, and it's just Import left, and it's tragic.
And they also have the Ore Prime buff as well. This in seconds, the Fangtooth buff was just coming down, but at the same time, they just secured that Ore Prime. But now we have 4 members down on the side of Import's backpack. What is Import going to do, and how is he going to carry this game and this team right here as we have a very beefed up and buffed up Indecisive team looking at your inhibitors, looking at your core?
Looking at your core, all members right there buffing up the minions. Only Import there together with Zeyn trying to defend this, but so much damage now. Import goes in, goes back, tries to do something, is gonna get deleted. So is the core, and Indecisive not playing like their namesakes, just really pushing the trigger, just really well played. And Import's backpack at this point is only filled with hopes.